Hello everyone. Welcome back to LexTalk. My name is Lex, and today we're diving into a holiday that people either love, hate, or wish they can go harder for. You guessed it, Halloween. We're talking the real history, and no, it didn't start with candy, how Halloween's changed over time and why it's giving more aesthetic than afterlife nowadays. The stigmas around it, especially in Black, brown, and religious communities. The psychology of why some of us are so obsessed with horror, costumes, and the thrill of being scared. And of course, I had to gag the girls, so we'll be diving a little bit into the world of tricks and some treats. So, light your candles, grab a snack, and let's get into it. So let's take it back, shall we? Halloween started as a Samhain, a Celtic pagan festival. Now, I had to look up what a Celtic pagan festival was. So basically, it was a traditional celebration held by the ancient Celtic people to honor nature, the seasons, and their gods. The festival marked the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter, a time associated with death. People believed that on October 31st, the veil between the living and the dead was at its thinnest, so spirits could come through. To protect themselves, they wore masks and costumes to confuse the ghosts. So yes, your sexy nurse costume has roots in spiritual protection. Think about that. Fast forward, the Catholic Church tried to remix it into All Hallows Eve, and by the time it got to America, we were throwing in pumpkins, party games, ghost stories, and by the 20th century, boom, candy companies took over. It started with dead spirits, now it's Spirit Halloween. Capitalism won per usual. Now today, Halloween is a big business, a $12 billion a year kind of big. And it's evolved. It used to be all about trick-or-treating in the suburbs, then the haunted house era hit, and then came the sexy costume takeover. And now we're deep into the era of Halloween aesthetics, pumpkin patch pictures, scary movie watch parties, and couples dressing up as celebrities. Okay, so let's talk about the real tension that comes with Halloween, especially in certain families and communities. Some of us grew up in homes where Halloween was seen as evil. You couldn't dress up, you had to go to revival or Bible study instead of trick-or-treating, or you heard your grandmother say it was the day for the devil. A lot of that fear came from misunderstanding the history, plus how media sensationalized things like witches, Satanism, horror movies with possession and demons. So for people who grew up religious, like me, Halloween felt like an open door to evil. But here's the truth. Halloween today is more about play, escape, and creativity than anything else. For most people, it's just a chance to dress up, eat candy, and be chaotic with no judgment. Growing up in the early 2000s, Halloween started off fun. Pillowcases full of candy, last-minute costumes, and the whole block was lit up. But as we got older, it started to change. You heard stories about people getting jumped for their candy, older kids robbing younger ones, or worse. Some streets you just knew not to go down, and then there were the rumors. Razor blades and apples, drugs and candy, and people doing all kinds of crazy shit. Whether true or not, it made people very paranoid. A lot of parents, like mine, started checking every candy wrapper or just kept kids home. At some point, my mother didn't even let me and my brothers trick-or-treat anymore. Churches and schools started doing safer events instead. Halloween wasn't just fun anymore, it was hell. Now, let's switch the mask a little bit, because Halloween isn't the only time people are pretending. Let's talk about the other kind of tricking. The kind that pays the rent, the kind that flies you out, the kind that's, don't ask what I do, just know I'm booked and busy. Escorting, sex work, sugar culture, OnlyFans, the game. Because people aren't just dressing up for Halloween, they're dressing up every day to survive. Some people trade looks, time, intimacy, or access for money, gifts, status, or protection. Not always because they want to, but because capitalism doesn't care about purity. It's the oldest profession in history, and sometimes the hustle is the only way out. Let's start with clarity. Tricking. Depending on who you ask, it can mean different things. For some, it's paying or being paid for sex or intimacy. For others, it's simply being taken care of financially in exchange for time, attention, or emotional connection. Then you have sex work, which is a broader term. It covers everything from escorting, online content, stripping, to full service sex work. So let's break it all down. So let's be real. Like I said, this industry is the oldest profession in the world, hands down. It's always existed. It's a business, period. There's demand, there's profit, and there's service. Some women and men do it for financial independence. Some do it to survive. Some see it as empowerment, owning their bodies, their time, and their worth. And even though it's one of the oldest professions, it is still criminalized and judged harder than any other hustle. People love to say, get your bag, until they find out how you got it. So, here's the real question. When does it stop being a choice and start becoming a cost? When does get the bag turn into lose yourself? And when does performing become exhausting, dehumanizing, or dangerous? Growing up, I used to watch a lot of documentaries and interviews about sex work and what comes with the lifestyle. And to me, I've always had a soft spot for the women and men in the situations they're in. It's very scary when you dig deep and think about what could happen to a person selling themselves just to afford basic living things, basic human necessities. Then watching some documentaries or interviews, hearing these stories, you start to second guess yourself even, or have a slight thought, like, maybe I can do this too, if the money is good, or you hear about how fast the money comes. But then you think about the mentality you have to have being out here in real life. The mental strain it can bring on a person, especially doing this job for years. Here's the real side we can't ignore, the danger. When something is stigmatized and illegal, it pushes workers into risky situations. No protection, no accountability, and no legal support when things go wrong. A lot of sex workers deal with violence, exploitation, or harassment by law enforcement, and because of the stigma, they can't even report it safely. Violence is common in sex work globally. Roughly 1 in 5 workers face physical and sexual violence each year. Female sex workers face the highest risks of violence. Male sex workers also face violence, but at lower reported rates. Transgender sex workers face elevated risks and discrimination. It's crazy how people will shame a sex worker, but then turn around and support celebrities who profit off their image in the same type of way. There's this sort of double standard. If a celebrity posts thirst traps, it's empowerment. If you're a regular woman with an OnlyFans, it's disrespectful. Society wants the fantasy, but not the person behind it. To me personally, I feel a few ways about this. Now, on one hand, I firmly believe in get it how you get it and making money how you can. However, I do understand what trauma and dangers come with this lifestyle. To mention the interviews I've watched specifically on this topic, one YouTuber I watch is Soft White Underbelly, where he interviews many of prostitutes, pimps, escorts, OnlyFans creators, etc. And they all express their stories on the true horrors of being out in this world. I do feel like there should be a level of protection for these men and women out here, even if you don't necessarily agree with the lifestyle. The girls shouldn't be harassed, especially sexually, by law enforcement. And if they report a crime, something should be done about it. A lot of judgment comes from misunderstanding. People assume sex work means someone is broken or lost, but in reality, it's a business decision, the same as modeling, entertainment, or influence work. It's just more taboo. So, let's pull the thread. We wear masks on Halloween, we chase thrills and horror, we carry shame around fear, we use performance to survive, but underneath all of it, we're all just trying to feel safe, seen, chosen, and respected. Whether that's through a costume, a kink, a cash app, or coping mechanism. So maybe the real trick is convincing people that we're okay, even when we're tired of pretending. At the end of the day, Halloween is what you decide it is. For some, it's a deep spiritual history. For others, it's fun-sized candy and a $40 wig from Party City. And for a lot of us, it's a once-a-year permission slip to be as weird, wild, or witchy as we want, with no apologies. So whether you're turning up at a costume party, staying in with horror movies, or still trying to heal from being told it's the devil's day, you do your Halloween. All right, y'all, that's it for this Halloween edition of Lex Talk. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode and learned a little something too. Whether you're ghosting your responsibilities or haunting your group chat with costume pictures, do Halloween your way, and don't forget the candy. Stay tuned for more episodes of Lex Talk coming soon. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Until next time, bye.